Okay. Right. Okay, so we have Antonio joining us now. Antonio, can you hear us okay? Okay, so if you can unmute yourself, please, Antonio. We have Peter as well. Unmute yourself. Thank you very much indeed. I will show you the audience in a minute. Peter is just a guest for today, this morning. So Peter, just quickly, a quick morning to everyone, because you switch off your video. We'll see you shortly, of course.
Yeah.
Go on, Peter. So a quick hello to everyone.
Going?
You can talk now.
Oh, okay. I can talk. Hello, Mauritius. Wish I was there. How are you doing? I know you got a really good speaker, so I'm going to step back and let Antonio take over. And listen like you are.
Peter, let's have a quick round of applause for you. And let's early morning to everyone.
See you this afternoon or a bit later on.
Fantastic, Peter. So we will be talking to you later on with your pupils you talk about as well. So it's a privilege honor to have you as well. Thank you for being here and assisting Antonio. So Peter, may I ask you to obviously switch your video and we'll get Antonio on the case as well. So thank you for being with us. Huge appreciation, of course. Antonio, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Antonio, thank you. We will do a quick introduction, of course. And let me just see if we can do that before we get you on the case. So, right, let me share the screen as well. Antonio, can you see the slides?
I can, yes.
Fantastic. So I'm just going to introduce Antonio. Antonio Nieto-Rodriguez is a leading expert in project management and strategy implementation, recognized by the Thinkers 50 with a prestigious award of ideas in practice. He's the creator of concepts like the project economy and the Project Manifesto. He's the author of Lead Successful Project 2019 Penguin, the Project Revolution 2019, and the Focus Organization 2012 Gower. He has been teaching project management for more than a decade to senior executive at Duke, Skolkovo, Solvay Business School, and Vlerick. And of course, as I continue, Antonio has an executive PMI position at PricewaterhouseCoopers, BNP Paribas, and GlaxoSmithKline, former chairman of the Project Management Institute. Is the co-founder of the Strategy Implementation Institute and the global movement Brightline, born in Madrid, Spain, and educated in Germany, Mexico, Italy, and the United States. Antonio is fluent in 5 languages, just like us, of course. He's an economist, has an MBA from London Business School and NCIDP. He's a member of the Marshall Goldsmith 100 Coaches. So just a quick video before we get Antonio the case.
Antonio Nieto-Rodriguez, and I started working in projects from the bottom of the projects. We call it the project officer. My first task was in a large ERP implementation for a big corporation in the US. And actually, my first job when I started in the project was to bring the coffee to the project leaders. So I said, what the heck am I going to do here? I spent 15 years researching and publishing. I published 3 books around projects and project management. I was the chairman of the Project Management Institute. I launched the Brightline initiatives. So I've been heavily involved in project management. I'm Antonio Nieto-Rodriguez, and these are my methods.
Big round of applause for Antonio. Okay, so Antonio, thank you. I'm going to like the video. It was a surprise to you. If you can share your slide, please. If you can share the screen, and off we go to the you. So honor, privilege, and absolutely humbled by the PMI Mauritius to have you today. If you can go for full slide, I'll on your screen. Fantastic on the audios. Thank you for being here. Once again, let's welcome our guest, Antonio.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Anil. Thank you. The PMI board of Mauritius, all the volunteers. Thank you for the invitation. It's really, really a pleasure to be here with you. I feel already a bit the great atmosphere that you have there today. And it's a pity we cannot be there, Peter or myself, but I hope we can do that in the future. So I put a bit of few slides on trends and some good news, some less bad news about my research. I think the future is super bright. It has never been brighter for the project management profession, but we need to change. We need to change many things, the way we do projects or competencies. So that's what I want to start today's keynote. You've heard a lot about that. I'm currently working the Harvard Business Review Project Management Handbook. Very exciting for me because I've been always working in influencing senior leaders. I don't want to influence project managers. I think they're already very good. But I saw a big gap in senior leaders, their understanding. So HBR coming to me and saying, can you write this book? The interesting thing is the HBR project management book, previous version was 10 years old, 10 years old. So project management is not a core topic for HBR, which just confirms what we all know is that it's not a top topic, but it's changing. It's changing because they want to renew and they're looking for articles around project management and strategy implementation. So I think there is quite a lot of attention at the top of companies now about projects. So this is, I think, very good news. Let's go into what I call the project economy. What is it? So there's two kind of dimensions. One very macro. After every crisis, there's huge investment in projects. We saw that with the Plan Marshall. We saw that after the crisis, financial crisis, 2008, and we see that now. So the amount of funds that countries are pumping into the economy, we've never seen before for the COVID. So that means projects, massive amount of projects, millions and billions of projects will require project managers. The statistics here come from McKinsey, and then you know the one from PMI, 66 million. So about 1/3 of the economy workers or the gig economy are project managers. They're working on their own. So I think this is the more macro trends, lots of projects to rebuild societies and economy. It's impacting organizations, the board of directors, they're looking board of directors. They never had kind of project implementation competencies. It was all about risk. It was all about compliance. But now we're looking for boards who have that foresight and can follow up strategic initiatives at board level. I've seen that in banks where they want to see now progress on strategic initiatives. That brings a lot of pressure, of course, to the organization, which is good news. Education, there's nothing better for our kids to learn project-based. That has been proven. The old traditional way where you get a book and you need to memorize it and then test you, that doesn't work. We forget that after one day. But project-based education is the way forward. And this has been amazingly embedded now in many, many schools and many systems. So what we do when you go for an MBA, which is basically project-based, implemented with kids, 4 or 5. The PMI Foundation is doing a lot around that as well. And then the governments, I think now they're starting to pay attention on how to implement policies, not just about policy making, but it's about policy implementation. So you have Project Citizen, you have in Ireland, very interesting ways of implementing policy with citizens, with experts, politicians, bureaucrats, and project-based. So I think these are some of the highlights of what I call the project economy. Going into the micro level, sorry, this is one organization. Imagine this is just one company that has lasted for 100 years. So the type of work in a company, they often say there's 2 types of companies within one company. One company is about day-to-day activities, running the business operations. That's the blue side. The other type of business model within the same company is changing that. And we know change is about projects, agile methods, innovation, R&D. So what happened in the way companies were performing the task was that 80, 70, 60 years ago, most of the resources, people, employees, budget was dedicated to the blue part. Yeah, there were not many projects. There was no need to change. Even 20 years ago, a strategy would last 7 to 9 years, according to one strategy guru. So the world was very different. We were becoming more efficient in the blue part. So a lot of management theories, like probably, you know, total quality management, business process engineering, outsourcing, were addressed to do the blue part of the business, cheaper, faster, better. I call that the world driven by efficiency. We've been for a century focusing on efficiency. What happens, we become more efficient, so there's more resources dedicated to change. So there's more and more people working in some part-time projects. They still have their job function in the operations or day-to-day, but they take 1 or 2 projects because the amount of changes is increasing. This is very slowly, so there's a lot which has not been talked about this. You see the friction between day-to-day and change, but people don't talk about it very much, the consequences and the disruption. But I think that one of the biggest changes that we're seeing is that as soon as artificial intelligence or robots become mainstream in a business, in an industry, that shift is radical, it's exponential. So all the blue part, the day-to-day activities are done by robots and machines. If you go to a bank, 90% of the people I was working in the past, they're working now in change activities, in agile groups, because operations is done by machines. So I think this is a huge disruption for many, many people. Is a job that they had for 20 years doing one thing, finance or accounting or sales or marketing, because the world driven by efficiency require people specialize in one thing. Yeah, so that's why we try to become specialists in one thing. But the world driven by change is a very different world. So for me, one of the biggest disruptions that we don't talk enough is we had a world which was driven by efficiency, the methods, the organizational structure, the strategies, the competencies were built for a world driven by efficiency. But now we're in a world driven by change, which flips around. We need different type of skills. We need different type of organization. We need different type of KPIs. We need different type of methods, systems. So I think this is one of the hugest unspoken disruptions that we're seeing. Some of the consequences, which are radical for some people, are job descriptions. I'm sure many of you there in the room in Mauritius, you had job descriptions. I've been 25 years in corporates. I always had the job descriptions. Who work in the job descriptions today? Very few people. I don't work on my job descriptions. I work on the projects that I'm assigned. I help other projects if needed. So companies, for example, large company, IBM, was telling me, somebody in HR saying, we just realized that people don't work in their job description. So we have 100,000 employees. We're going to cancel all the job description, delete them. And we're going to move to project-based roles. So you have a role in this project for 9 months, and then we'll give you another project in 9 months after that, and so on. So this, I think for us, we're good. We're used to that. We're used to work on a project base, but for 90% of the population, it's like you're removing the floor at work. You just remove, because job descriptions give you a bit of stability, a bit of vision on 2-3 years, and suddenly that's gone. So I know people who have struggled in banking where they've done that. It's a new world. So we need a different type of policies and rules. So one of them is out of job descriptions, only project-based roles. So that's drastic. For the HBR book, I convinced them, HBR, to use their database of executives to do a survey. I think it's the first time HBR does a survey on project management. And you see 556 experts were talking about that. And I just want to share a couple of slides. One of them is, how do you see project management competencies evolving in your organization over the next 5 years? So you have professionals the blue one, and these are people like us, project management, and then you have the executives. These are CEOs, senior leaders around the world. And I think when I saw this result, I was so happy, because you see the longest, that's about 75%, almost 80% of it. Projects are essential for organization. We want to invest and build project management competencies. Sorry, my kid just woke up. Say hi. So what you have is, yeah, we have a world driven by projects now, and there will be a lot of projects, more and more, but our performance is poor. Wherever you look, any statistics that you look, from PMI, from Brightline, HBR, we cannot make more than, what, 30% of projects successful. It's not good. We need to do better. We need to do much better. And I'm not blaming the project managers here. I think it's more also about leadership, about the organization. So there are many aspects, but imagine if instead of 30% success on your projects, you get 50%. This is just instant benefit for your organization, for your country, for your region. There's nothing easier to make increase in productivity or benefits than doing your projects better. That's clear, or strategic initiatives. So that's where I think we need to focus. Instant, doesn't require a lot of investment, but the impact is huge. So this is a big trend. We fail a lot. Second is, we talk about disruption everywhere, but in the project management profession, right? You hear very, very little about disruption in project management. We hear disruption in cars, we hear disruption in retail, in pharma, but why we never talk about project management disruption? It's there, and it's coming fast. So according to Gartner, 80% of what we do today will disappear. 80%, that's 4 days out of 5 of our jobs will be gone. This is shocking. You need much less project managers, maybe, if we don't change. So I think this is something like, for me, it's a wake-up call. What do we need to change in project management? How can we use better technology? Why do we need to spend so much time in reporting or chasing data when we know it's really very low added value as a PMO, as a project manager? It should be much better use of technology. So I'm coming to that. So that's kind of the summary of my introduction. Project economy, great, a lot of projects. We need more project managers, but we still fail a lot. We cannot accept that anymore. And we're going to be heavily disrupted in the next years. So what's the future of the profession? So I'm going to talk about reinventing project management. I've been thinking a lot about this topic a lot through research, through my own profession, at work, and talking to other experts. So I think there's 3 areas at least that we need to improve or change. First, we need to simplify project management, make it accessible to anyone, not just the professionals. Second, I think we need to look at our project lifecycle and change it. And then we need to develop 2 additional project triple constraints. I think our current triple constraint, which we love so much, is a bit flawed. Yes, it's flawed. So I'm going to tell you about that. It's a bit controversial, but the love we have for our triple constraint, it should change. And I'm going to share why. So I think simplification is one of the most difficult things to do. Jonathan, if that's the guy from Apple. Successful management theories are very simple. I know you there in Mauritius, if you need to discuss strategy with your customers or in your company, there's one framework, which is just 1 slide, which is called the 5 forces of Michael Porter. It's been used for maybe 40 years. In 1 slide, you have 5 components. You can discuss strategy. You don't need to be a PhD in strategy to have a good discussion about who are the competitors, who are the key suppliers. So that's so easy. Everybody can talk strategy. If we talk about marketing strategies and plans, there's the Kotler 7 Ps. Do you need to be a PhD in marketing to have a good discussion around your marketing approach? No. If we talk about change management, what comes to mind? Kotter, 8 steps. You need to be a guru in change management? No. Anybody can understand that you need to start with a sense of urgency and build your coalition. These are so simple things. And to that point, I think even Agile was successful because it was extremely simple with the 12 principles and some very high level aspects. That's it. But let me guess a bit and test your knowledge. When was the first edition of the PMBOK published? 1994, 1996, 1999, 1969.
Okay, is that a question?
Yeah, can you people raise their hand? So who thinks A, 1994? Raise your hand, please.
Anybody raise your hand? 1994. No hands up until you.
B, 1996. Raise your hand.
Our friend on the left. We weren't born then.
Number C, 1999.
We've got about 5.
And D?
About 15.
Wow.
Out of 150.
Not good in the morning. 1969 is when PMI was set up, born, right? But the first edition of the PMBOK was 1996. 1994, there was this draft edition for review. The other big question I had is how long is the PMBOK? So I'll show you the graph because I'm sure very few know that, but this is the table. So you see on the left, the years and the editions. First one, 1996. But for me, what I want to raise your attention is on the pages. The first exposure had 64. The first edition, 176. The current version, 6th edition, 756. Raise the hand who has read this 756 pages of the latest version. I don't know if you can raise your hand or if your boss is there, you don't want to do it. But I would not be surprised that nobody has read them. And this is the source of knowledge. I'm not saying anything against the PMBOK. I think it's one of the greatest resources in business, in management, but it's too complex. It's too complex. You can never expect, and it will never happen in life, that a senior executive or a sponsor will read the PMBOK. Nobody working in a project part-time, which is 80% of the cases, will read the PMBOK. In fact, they will not open because they will get scared. Right? Yeah. So what else do we have in project management, like the 5 forces or the 7 Ps? There's nothing. And you have the business model canvas from Alex Osterveld and Yves Pignon, good friends of mine who I was talking to them, and you have a one-pager for a business model, and we don't have that for a project. How come? A business model is much more complex than a project. So I think we are pushing away people because we don't have something simple to share. Simple doesn't mean that it's poor or useless. Simple means that we make it easy for people to understand and have a good dialogue. Later on, we'll build the detailed plans. So I've developed what I call the project canvas with some feedback from Alex and Yves. This is the first version. I'm working on the second. It was very hard for me because I wanted to have many, many elements in this canvas. And they say too many. In the business model canvas, we have 8, and here you have 14. So I'm working on that. I'm working on a new version of 9, but I think if we can, and I'm not proposing this as the solution, I think you can develop your own. This one is for free and you can get it at the end and work it out. My goal is that we use it as a communication tool, as an alignment tool, as a checklist to see where are the big issues in your project. Is it in the governance? Is it in the HR? Is it in the procurement? It's something that we can talk with anybody. Again, you don't need to be a PMP or have read the PMBOK to have a good discussion about any project. And that should be our goal, to have a good discussion with anybody, even at home with your family, about your projects and are they good or not? Do they have chances to be successful or not? You can predict, I think we can predict when a project will fail. If some of these fundamentals are missing, the project will fail, whatever it happens. We know that. So why don't we do that more often? So this is the canvas, you get it for free. Any input is great. I will just highlight, it's based on 4 domains. So we start with the why. Why do we do the project? I think we've done very little around why do we do the projects. We jump straight into the scope definition and the WBS and the technical part. So that's what we like. But we forget that the why is what drives the engagement and the reason for being that project. And it's so important. I came with the concept of purpose for projects because I don't agree that the business case should be the only criteria for deciding if a project is good for investment or not. Nobody cares if your project brings a 10% return on investment. Nobody except maybe the owner and maybe some shareholders, but the people working on your projects, they just care about the purpose of your project. And if the purpose is strong, is higher purpose, is to do better environmental projects, bring the vaccines to the market. That's where people will be committed forever and they will fight for it. Nobody fights for a 10% return on investment. Sorry, just the people who will get some financial gains from that. So I think there's something flawed a bit or missing, which we need to fill in with the purpose, which is what drives your projects. Then I wanted to highlight in the who domain, the executive sponsor. If you don't have an executive sponsor, don't start the project. Don't start. And tell the sponsor, come here and dedicate time. And I'm going to give you a good example. The third dimension, you know by heart, the scope, type, cost. So that's the knowledge areas. And then the priority of the project within the organization. Are you a flexible organization? Do you have an agile culture? This impacts heavily your project. So one thing is the canvas. Second, I think we need to have a manifesto. In the project economy, we need to have a manifesto telling projects are essential. Projects are the engine of the growth and the future and development. Again, this is just a try. There are lots of comments in LinkedIn, but I do think that we need to have something to present ourselves, like the Agile Manifesto. This is just a project, not project management. Very important, just projects. One of the other big issues, which makes me very upset when I hear that, and I was guilty of this, is we always thought one size fits all. So I developed several project management methods for companies, and they were all the same faces, same templates. And that's so wrong when I think about that now. And then it comes the wave, 10 years, 15 years ago, the agile wave. And the other wrong message was, well, let's remove traditional project management. Let's go to agile because that's more fancy, modern, sexy, Silicon Valley. So it was one or the other. And now it's so clear that this is so wrong. Depending on the project, and for me, a project is any type of change. Okay, anyone who wants to change, to solve a problem, to create something new, that's a project. Not project management, the project. So depending on the uncertainty and the complexity of the task, you will use different tools. If you know that the uncertainty is very high, we don't know really what we want, why would you do a plan? Why would you apply project management if we know that we don't know what we want to build? Why have we been doing that forever? We know that is wrong. That plan, you can put it in the garbage, and that's the best place to be, but you cannot make expectations and put your name into a plan that we know when the uncertainty is so high is wasteless. So my view is that we need to learn these techniques, and you can come from different angles. You can be strong in Scrum and learn a bit of project management and program management. And if they ask you to run the Olympic Games, why not mega projects or a big infrastructure mega project? Yes, I think that's nice. But if the uncertainty is very high, why don't we learn about ideation or design thinking or lean startup? And we should map our projects based on this. And one big mistake that I see companies, they try to apply project to any change, project management. And it's so wrong again. If a project has just 50 mind days, don't apply project management, just use it as continuous improvement. low uncertainty, low complexity, don't use project management. You're killing the project. Okay, so I think this, for me, is the role of the project manager of the future. Know which tool to use and build these competencies. A PMO, you should be saying this too. Okay, so this is a very, very important step. Once we start using different tools, we will be more successful. You cannot use the hammer atom for anything, everything that's broken, right? So we were using that in project management. We were pushed to do that. I think the world is different. We need these kind of tools. Other big thing that I think we can improve. My experience tells me that we start projects too early. As soon as the idea, somebody says, hey, I had this idea. I saw that yesterday in the supermarket. We should be doing that. And you put a project the next day. Oh yeah, let's do a kickoff tomorrow. And everybody will show up in the kickoff because we like new things. We like to start. Who is going to show up in the second meeting? Nobody. Yeah, no, when you need to work, no, I don't have time. But I think if we knew when is the right moment to start a project, we will be more successful. We say, this project is not mature yet. We still have too many unknowns. Don't make a project yet. Experiment, make prototypes, narrow out the options. Once we know a bit what we know, we want to build, then yes, put a project in place and that would work. But if you start projects in the bottom of the S-curve, you're going to fail. And I think 80% of the projects start at the bottom of the S-curve. This is an article I wrote for HBR with an expert on the S-curve. And again, this is an attempt to provide some kind of guidance. We put 6 questions, but I think there's no better example for me around that than the first iPhone. It was called the Project Purple. So the idea of creating a smartphone and disrupting the telecom industry was presented to Steve Jobs in 2001. And Steve Jobs, an innovator, said, yes, I love that market. Yeah, we need to disrupt it. And sure, I think we need to do something. But guys, girls, it's not the right time. No, we cannot set up a project right now. Great idea, but our focus is on the iTunes and on the iPod. And that's what we need to put our resources and our focus. But let's put a small team to explore, to learn about the technology. We don't know how to make phones, even smartphones. What's that? So he put a small team to explore, to learn, to talk to technology providers. They did a few experiments. Only in 2004, 3 years of innovation, ideation, prototyping. Then Steve Jobs, end of 2004, said, people, tomorrow we start the project. I want the best people in the project. It's time to launch and create the phone. And it has to be ready by 2007, about 2.5 years. That's it. So 3 years of ideation, 2.5 years of project. Another good example is of the new mindset that we need, of the new project management. This is a hospital, state-of-the-art. That's planned to be built in 2016, startup of the project in Brussels, Belgium, and finished by 2020, 4 years, state-of-the-art, latest technologies, artificial intelligence, so good. It seemed good to me, 4 years, quite efficient project planning. But when I went and I saw inauguration 2018, 2 years ahead of schedule, I said, what did they do, these people? Half of the building was operational after 2 years. They were operating, they were treating people with cancer, they were delivering babies. The other half were just constructing. So I said, what a wonderful idea. This is agile at scale. This is agile mindset, but for a traditional project. Why don't we plan like that? Your plan will be very different. One part of the project will be about building a small scale end goal. And second, you need to think about how to work in parallel, how to avoid risk, how to avoid noise, how to avoid health and safety matters much more than before. But this is what businesses, organizations are looking for, benefits as soon as possible. That's how we can be more successful in projects. So if we look at the traditional project life cycle, which I think it was good, but I think very few projects will follow that. So what was happened? How I was trained in project management? What happens with ideation? We don't care. No, it's not our field. We don't know how it happens. It's not we cannot do anything there. Then they will come up with the idea, or maybe already a bit of a business case. You develop, you scope it, you do a WBS, you make a plan, schedule, different plans, communication risk, and so on. And then we implement, we hand over, hopefully smoothly. We don't really know to whom, hopefully quickly. Benefits, who cares? I'm not going, it's not my problem, it's the sponsor problem or the owner. That was the project life cycle that we've been using so far, right? There was an attempt to do benefit management, but not really fully integrated. When we look at artificial intelligence disruption, the white part, where we spend 5%, 100% of our time, is going to become 20%, the white part. Yeah, so much less time on what we used to do, which is great. I think we do a lot of bureaucratic administrative work. So where are we going to play a role? Where do we need to develop skills? Ideation. We should learn design thinking. We should learn how R&D works. We should know when a project is ready to be a project. When an idea is not mature, like Steve Jobs, it's not the time. It's not the right time. First, the idea is too broad, too many unknowns. Second, we don't have capacity. We don't have the focus. That's for me, the project leader that companies need. Second, we need to know what we run. I'm going to give you an example a bit later on that part because it's just an eye opener. It's again, wow. So I'm going to explain you why we need to learn about the run, why we need to know and continue when the project is over with whatever we built. And the other big things that we need to do is we need to learn to plan on benefits. I don't want to plan on deliverables anymore or milestones. No, this is wrong. Keep it for yourself. It's important to allocate tasks, but for the external world, for your stakeholders, we need to build plans on benefits. Tell me when we're going to start achieving the goals and make me a plan. Traditional roadmaps, useless. Yes, nice for your internal kitchen. I'm not saying you need to skip them, but for the external world, for your executives, for your audience, for your stakeholders, make me plans on benefits. That's the only thing that matters. I don't care if you're running late on a deliverable, as long as you deliver the benefits that you were planning. Again, radical shift on what we've been used to. The iPhone is a great example, the hospital. And I'm coming to another controversial. We love this. I have the poster in my office, the triple constraint. This is the golden rule of project management, right? And I'm not criticizing. I think we have evolved and we need to use it, but in different ways. Let me give you an example. How would you consider a project that originally was scheduled for 4 years and budget for 7 million? It took a little bit longer, 14 years to be completed. It costed a little bit more than 7 million, 102. All our KPIs would be red. According to our methods, all the KPIs of this project are telling me this project is a disaster. Stop it. Why would you continue a project that is bad on cost, bad on time, bad on scope after 4 years, after 5 years? Stop it, really. This is what our methodology is saying. Stop it. Let me show you which project I'm talking. Sydney Opera House. If we would have applied our concepts or KPIs, this project would have never existed. You know how much time they took to pay off the 100 million that they run over? 1 year. They've made billions and they've created an icon. So how come we cannot say that in our KPIs? Yeah, we're running late, we're doing bad on cost, but the purpose, the benefits are huge. And probably people working there knew it, but why cannot we report that? Why cannot we have KPIs on that? And I'm being a bit extreme here. I think this is an evolution. I've been thinking, there's other people thinking, but I do think we need to have a sort of triple constraint on the benefits. Sorry. So what's the value we're creating? What's the risk we're taking? How sustainable is the benefits that we're creating? So, and what are the trade-offs? This is really important. This is what we should be selling and talking about, not the other thing. Another example, how would you consider a project that is more than 100 years late? Right? Stop it. Why 100 years? Come on. No, this is one of my favorite projects. I've researched projects around the world and I have some favorite. This is one of them. This is the cathedral in Barcelona. It's called Sagrada Familia. It was started building in 1882. And they're still building. And I went to talk to them and I say, well, listen, my passion are projects. I look projects everywhere to research them. And your project is unique because you're the only 100 years late. And I asked them, are you not a little bit ashamed? I asked the project leader. And she said, no, we're not ashamed. We're really happy working here. We're doing something great. And they said, you know who's our sponsor? And I said, no, who is Barcelona, the citizen? No, God is our sponsor. And she is not in a hurry, you are. But the benefits of a project are determined by the sponsor, right? It's not the time, the cost sometimes, but sometimes it's other thing and we never check. So we need to check with the sponsor, with the key stakeholder, what's the benefit for you of this project? Some will say financial, some other will say something else. But this is something that absolutely needs to happen. And I really push in my methods to have that. But the second big learning of this project, and luckily we didn't apply traditional project management metrics to stop it, is they're making benefits every year. Every day they're making billions of euros on visitors. If your project is late, but is making benefits every day, this is a great project, right? This is what we want. They say they will finish by 2026. I doubt it. Who cares? Right? So it's a very different way of looking at projects. Yes, 100 years late, but we're making benefits every day. Okay?
Antonio, did you say they are still building it?
Sorry, Anil?
They are still building it.
They're still busy and their goal is 2026 because it's 100 years since the main architect, Gaudi, was died. So 100 years, it's kind of the landmark. And they're working quite fast, so they might make it. But yeah, you can Google. Hopefully you go to Barcelona. It's a beautiful city. But my point is, we don't have a clue about the people. We don't have a clue about the engagement of the people in our projects. If there's something that makes a project succeed, it's the engagement of the people, right? How can we know that today? So I think there needs to be some metrics around the engagement. I talk about the purpose, the passion or the alignment, and the dedication. You can be very passionate and purpose-driven, but if you don't dedicate more than 1 hour per week, that's not, for me, a success. Okay, so what I'm proposing, and this is work in progress. I don't want to impose. I'm not telling you this is the solution. I just know this is the direction we need to go. And I'm evolving these concepts, and any feedback, any ideas, super welcome. You know, today, very easy to connect through LinkedIn or by email, and I'm happy to listen. But I think the triple constraint that we know is the internal kitchen. You never go to a restaurant. Nobody in a restaurant will bring you a nice dish and say, it took me 7 minutes and 30 seconds to make this dish, and it cost me 2 pennies and 1 cent. No, who cares? It has to be nice. I need to enjoy it. That's the benefits, okay? So if you want to really make an impact in your projects, this is the direction you need to go. What does it mean for us as a professional? In the world driven by efficiency, I think I talk a lot in conferences which are not project managers, business people. And I tell them, listen, one of my biggest challenges in my career for choosing project management is that they were always telling me, people, you're a generalist. right? I can imagine you hear that. You're a generalist. You're not going to make a big career, because career is and progression is for experts, for marketing people, for finance, and you become the CFO, and marketing, you become the VP of marketing. But project manager, how are you going to become? The head of PMO, if you're lucky. So there was no career for project manager. It was all for experts. The university, the courses, they're all making you an expert to function in the blue part. That makes a lot of sense. And that's how we've been trained. And if you were a project manager, consultant, you were strange. You were not fitting the model. So I think that's one of the greatest news as well. I believe that in a world driven change, what we need is the opposite. We need deep but generalist, not deep skills, deep generalist. We are not there. I know many projects, me included, that we have the potential and we are ahead of the curve, but we need to develop some areas. And I think the future is bright. We need people who can connect the dots, who can drive teams, diversity, working together with a purpose towards something, to achieving a plan, a goal. And that's really, I've been in finance, I've been in banking, I've been in pharma, and we miss that. There's no people with those skills. Some of them, some project managers might make that, but most of the people have been trained to work in an efficient world. So I think this is great news. And I want to finish with great news. Let me tell you another disruptive idea for profession. This is a very good friend, Cesar Cernuda. He's from Spain, and we were playing kids football and doing a bit troubles and so on. I lost track of him, and I met him in Singapore maybe 5 years ago. He was the VP, Vice President of Microsoft for Asia Pacific. So number 5 in whole Microsoft, work with Bill Gates and Ballmer. And I say, Cesar, how the heck did you make it to the top like that? And he said, well, you know, I started my career selling Microsoft Office packages in Madrid, and I was doing quite well. At one point, Microsoft decided to go into the ERP system. I think you know the ERP is SAP, Oracle. It's a huge business. Microsoft was not playing there. So they bought a Scandinavian company called Navision. And they asked Cesar, my friend, Cesar, do you want to do the integration project? You want to integrate Navision with Microsoft and create our new business unit about ERP? So yes, I'm very excited. He worked really hard for 3 years, learned about project management. And I said, Cesar, so you were very successful with that project integration. And I said, well, after that project, I can imagine you choose any project you wanted, strategic or, so I asked Cesar, which project did you do next? And Cesar tells me, no, I didn't ask for a new project. I say, what? This is what we project managers do. We finish a project, we want a new one. And I said, no, I told to my bosses, I want to run the new business. I want to run the ERP business that I just created. And I said, oh my God, you just disrupted the way I think about projects. He said, there's nobody in Microsoft that knows better than me how this business works. There's no one. I've been spending 3 years, day and night on this project. Why should I leave it? I want to run it. Give me 2-3 years to run this organization that I built with the project. And I said, oh my God, why do project managers always go back and back and back? Why we never dare to say, well, I want to run what I built. I want to run and sell this product. I want to run this organization. I want to sell this website. There's nobody, all you in the room, nobody knows more about the projects you're working on than you. Why do you need to drop it when it's done? Why can't you say, I run it? I think this is transformational, and I highly recommend to do that. I run it. Give me credibility. I want to run what I built. You don't need to do that all the time, but this is really important. So what are the skills for the future? I think in terms of methods, tools, we should know all of them. It's not agile or, It's not project management or. It's both plus more. You can have a strength. You can say, well, my priority goes for traditional project management, but I know when to use Agile. I know when to use Scrum. I know when to use continuous improvement, and that project management doesn't add any value. Or program management. This is what we need to develop, that suite. I call them strategy implementation professionals. And then end to end, we need to know a bit about entrepreneurship, innovation, ideation, design thinking. We need to, of course, run the system with the technology. And then we need to run it sometimes and just focus on the benefits, that big priority. And I think when I talk about investments and tools and with senior leaders and technology, I said, you know, people, you know, you have the most powerful tool in your hands. The most powerful tool in your hand is a project. There are very few ways of working, collaborating, more motivating and inspiration than being part of a project with an ambitious goal, a higher purpose, and a clear fixed deadline. This is one of the strongest tools that you can bring to a company, an organization, and a country. There's the case of Greta about the environmental. She didn't have resources. She had a vision and a project. Clean the Ocean, the Dutch guy, 16-year-old. He said, I want to launch this project. And he's creating a movement and he's making it. What is your project in your organization who's going to create that higher purpose and engage the people? This is a free tool available. People just don't know how to use it, but it's really transformative. And with that, I want to thank you. You have some free resources in my website. Please connect. You can sign up for newsletters and I hope you enjoy it. It opens your mind. You see the world a bit different, but the future is bright. We just need to change, but it's absolutely the best time ever for us. Thank you very much.
Big round of applause, everyone. Thank you. This is also, and do you have any questions in the audience, please? Anybody, any questions, Antonio? So if you can stop sharing, Antonio, so that we can see you probably on the screen as well. Any question for Antonio? Anybody? At least there must be one question, please, unless you are ready to do it. All right, so there's one question there again, so please introduce yourself, sir. Your company and your salary.
Antonio, good morning. My name is Kela. I'm from Serenium. So one of the slides in the beginning, you mentioned that 75% of the projects, the respondents said that we are doomed at the start. I think it was the first or the second slide. How do we convince the business in these scenarios to delay the start of the project, or be better prepared in a sense, so that we push that 75% down to some lesser number?
Excellent question. Thank you. And I think what you're saying, Justice, is a role that we should be playing. I don't have, unfortunately, the perfect model. What you see in my slides, and you'll get a copy, is I elaborated 6 questions. So if the 6 questions are no, then you can clearly see that the project is not ready for traditional project management. You can use some Agile, you can face it, you can do a bit of prototyping, but the project definitely is not ready. It's something I developed with an expert, one of the world experts on the learning curve, the S-curve, Whitney Johnson. So I'm happy to share that article. You'll find it on my website, but it's just a checklist which gives you a bit of an indication of whether your project is mature or not. I think you can. The other thing that we need to be stronger is persuasion. So if the business says, yes, this is what we need to do, I think we need to really try to persuade them and say, listen, all the statistics, 70% of the projects fail. Why don't we rethink it? Tell them about the project of the iPhone. 3 years they explore. And I'm not saying we should stop, but let's take it small pieces, do a bit of more elaborations, put a small team, let us finish what we're doing now, free up some resources, and then we can deliver, and let's focus. So it's a lot of, we need to be very persuasive, because we're changing many of the habits that there's an idea and there's a project right away. And then you are with the mess, no, I'm not with the mess. I want to challenge that. Great question. That's the way forward.
Okay, thank you. Any last question, maybe, from my colleague, project manager? You can introduce yourself and the sound of the
Hi all, my name is Marcel, project management, so my salary is 10 rupees per day. That's about it. So my question to you is, you raised a challenging point where if a project is generating 10% profit or whatever, nobody cares. So in construction, basically, it's even 5% that matters. And it dictates the client's call to go ahead or not. So my question to you is, maybe not a question or a comment, but respond to, how would you trigger us Mauritians who are in endothermic economy to push for that culture and awareness to get the client to go ahead without necessarily 10%, 5%, 20% benefit for us to just go ahead to get my point?
Thank you. Also, excellent question. And don't get me wrong, I don't have anything against having a strong KPI or business case around return on investment, or so I think this is important, and it's more important, more the thinking process that goes into making the business plan than what you write in there. So, but I think what really excites, motivates people is the higher purpose. So if you're in construction, what is so special about your construction project? What makes it different? You know, what are you going to provide housing for many people that need that? Are you provide environmental friendly buildings? This is, if you just focus on that in your messaging and say, well, by the way, we're going on all to make money and hopefully as much as possible. But no, the purpose is it's higher. We need to move away from that money, financial aspect that we've been driven in projects to the higher purpose, which often is there, but we don't focus, we don't communicate, we don't explain that. And that's where you will gain more engagement from the teams. They will be more happy to work in your project in the mornings when it gets tough, and your project will be delivered better because people are thinking they're doing something great. So I think we need to keep doing both, and we need to push for both. And as project leader, I use much more the purpose when I'm communicating than the business case. So I don't know if that answers your question, if I understood well, but I think it's a combination of all. And I think the challenge, we've not been trained for that. You don't see any books telling you how to define the purpose, how you explain it, how you break it down, so I think we're building these methods as we progress because we've seen they're very strong. They're super strong. This is what people are asking now.
Okay, Antonio, thank you very much indeed. Can you have a big round of applause for Antonio from Spain?
Thank you. Thank you. I hope to see you in Mauritius. I hope to see you in Mauritius.
Just a quick, yeah, we'd love to see you one day, but we have a current time and that's going to be 150 so. But yeah, no, we'll see you soon. Peter, I think you know Antonio, and you guys know each other as well. Quickly.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you okay.
All right, perfect. Well, I hate it when I have to follow Antonio. He's just so good, isn't he? This is.
No, Peter is good.
Yeah. All right. So what's going to come later? Listen, it's really interesting, and I love the stuff you talked about, Antonio, because for me, there are kind of, with the project economy going on, there are kind of three critical areas I'm very excited about. One you kind of touched on, and I talk about it as the world of the informal project manager, the growth of that middle unit that are not project managers. That's one topic. AI, I am so excited about AI because I'll be honest, there's stuff in project management that bores the hell out of me. So AI, brilliant. But I want to talk about, when I come back later on today, I'm going to talk to you about project team performance management, which I think is the other critical area. How the teams align and work in a far more efficient way. And I'm going to explore that whole topic and look at the analytics, about the power of the collective, the power of the many, the hive mind, the swarm effects, loads of stuff like that. And yeah, I'm really excited. So I'm going to go off and get some coffee and calm down. And I will be back later on. And Antonio, you and I, we should definitely connect and talk because I think we should catch up.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, guys, thank you. And we see you when we see you. Peter will see you something, of course. I think you're back again in India. We love you all. We love you all. Thank you.
Okay. Don't give that guy any more coffee. He's just crazy already. Bye.
Peter, we'll connect.
Lots of love.